Are you looking for a professional job in Canada? Are you wondering what are the options for a career transition? Are you ready to connect directly with employers and service providers to expand your network and fast-track your career in Canada? Welcome to G-TAC's National Virtual Career Expo. It is Canada's largest online talent attraction and job fair, and it is all about job opportunities, networking, and career options. The VCE is live, allowing you to pitch your qualifications, ask questions, get direct answers, and most importantly, get hired. The VCE is digital, you can join from anywhere, anytime. The VCE is a national, there are employers and service providers across Canada to find and attract talent. Registration is completely free. We also offer free pre-event support, including VCE how-to webinars, to prepare you for a more productive VCE experience. With G-TAC and the Virtual Career Expo, you're one click away from your dream job. Register now.
It's time for you to meet New Brunswick. It's a place where old school and high tech are neighbors, and there's an ocean of business opportunity right next to the world's highest tides. In New Brunswick, we're agile in boardrooms and outside of them. Our East Coast lifestyle is leisurely, but our business moves at lightning speed. And don't be fooled by all the trees. Our infrastructure is state-of-the-art. When you come to New Brunswick, you'll be met with friendly smiles from folks with the skills to get the job done. We may be hardworking and resilient, but we also know how to have fun and savor our successes. In New Brunswick, we've always favored quality over quantity. Our small size isn't a drawback. In fact, it's what makes it easy to get things done. Here, global powerhouses thrive alongside local startups, and time-honored traditions and cutting-edge approaches coexist. We're not really ones to brag, though. We keep a pretty low profile here, and a low cost of living and doing business to match. So now that you've met New Brunswick, don't you think it's time to get to know us better?
Are you looking for a
Oh,
professional job in Canada? Are you wondering what are the options for a career transition? Are you ready to connect directly with employers and service providers to expand your network and fast-track your career in Canada? Welcome to G-TAC's National Virtual Career Expo.
So you
It
can
is
move your
Canada's
slide to
largest
the next
online
one.
talent
So
attraction and job.
stop the video.
okay. Oh, bonjour, bon après-midi, bonsoir à tous. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you again for joining G-TAC's webinar. And today we are going to talk a bit more about the our upcoming 11th online job fair. And we have a very, very, very special guest with us today. Which I will let her do her introduction, but just to get everybody familiar with her, her name is Cathie Adeney, and she's a very, very, very experienced leadership coaching and trainer and facilitator, and in her I guess many years of past experience. So I'll let her introduce herself a bit later. Today we have a lot of things to cover. And Cathie, when I'm going to pass the mic to you, we're going to give you the control. So basically, you will use the screen and you will change the slides. Just put your mouse over the slide. Okay, so I will give you the little cue as we get there. So for all of you that's listening right now, this presentation is in English. So by all means, put your questions in the chat box, and we will get to the Q&A section later after the presentation. There are, I know there's a lot of you that speak French out there. À tous mes amis en parle français, s'il vous plaît, mettez votre question en anglais, s'il vous plaît. Mais it's okay to also put it in French as well if you want to. Okay, I will try to translate them as much as I could. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get started right away. I'm just going to go through these first few slides very, very quickly. For those of you that's joining us for the first time, G-TAC, which stands for Global Talent Alliance Canada. We're here. For those of you, I see there's a few of them that's already, there's a lot of familiar names I see. So some of you are actually frequent viewer or listener to our webinar, is you know that we are definitely passionate about helping skilled workers to settle and to find a job here in Canada. All our webinars, it's all the topic is always surrounding about employment as well, employment here in Canada or employment related, as well as we also here to help Canadian company grow as they need skilled workers to help them grow their business. So all this to say is we definitely are your link to we call ourselves the Global Talent Pipeline Builders for job seekers and employers, as well as we provide trainings to very, very practical and relevant trainings that will help you or fast track your journey to employment here in Canada. We partner with over 400 employers across Canada, as well as with over 20 municipalities, provincial governments, and other economic development commissions across Canada. And you will see that during the BCE 11, upcoming BCE 11. As you can see on the top right-hand corner, we have organized 10 such events already in the past. The first one took place on November 21st, 2016, and the last one took place on October 5th and 6th, 2021. And of course, the 11th one will take place on April 5th and 6th, 2022, which is a little bit less than 2 weeks from today. Okay, so if you haven't registered, please go ahead and register. We're going to have lots of companies. Just so you know, is Electronic Arts. It will be one of the participating employers. For those of you who doesn't know, EA is probably one of the top 3 gaming company in the world, and they are looking for hundreds and hundreds of IT related professionals to fill their pipelines here in Canada. We're also going to have, I'm very, very proud to announce this, is MasterCard has agreed to join our 11th National Virtual Career Expo. So this is great, great, great news. Of course, we also have financial institutions, telecoms, cybersecurity network, and so on. So it's gonna, and of course, the province of New Brunswick. And during the VCE 11, we will have 2 days of webinars. First day is called Discover Canada, where you have representative from each part of the country coming online to talk about the benefits of those communities, the jobs available, and the living lifestyle. The second day is Career Corners, where we will have various agencies to talk about, for example, how to obtain your CPA certification here in Canada. So right now I am going to pass the control to Cathie. So Cathie, we are passing the control to you right now.
Yes.
So put your mouse over the slides and then click. If you can change slides, then that means say the control, you have the control. And as soon as you can change slides.
There we go.
So Cathie, the mic is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Shaw. Welcome, everyone. So you have just under 2 weeks to prepare yourself for this virtual job fair. I've been on the other side of the table doing the hiring for years and years. So what I wanted to do today is give you a little bit of insight about what the hiring manager, what the recruiter are looking for. Now, in just about an hour, I can't possibly give you all of the information. I'm going to touch on some points at a high level, but these kinds of things are also very individual. We do offer coaching, individual coaching, to help you hone in on your specific needs so that you can represent your best self at this event. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you prepare yourself, a little bit about a resume, and even understanding LinkedIn and the value that it has. And finally, we're going to walk through as we go the benefits of coaching that might be able to help you to gain that key employment. So let's get started. The first thing, it's virtual. So we have to modify the way that we present ourselves. We have to look at what's behind us. You might notice I've put a red panel behind me so that it's very clear that people can see me. When people are hiring, they're hiring people that they can see and like, people that have a smile. You have to look at what are you wearing. It's important, even though it's virtual. Are you centered on the frame? How are you showing engagement? Are you nodding your head? Are you using some of the tools like a thumbs up or raising your hand, something to show that you're engaged in the conversation? This is something that is something you need to practice, but really important to prepare for. When you're talking to a recruiter or a hiring manager, there's a lot of value in a smile. In Canada, we hire more than just the most technical person. A lot of it is also about the soft skills, about being able to get along with people, being able to work together in a team. A lot of that even starts with just a friendly smile and open ability to talk to people. You'll want to make sure your tone and volume of your speech is appropriate. If you're too quiet, they won't be able to hear you. You want to make sure that you're articulating effectively and able to introduce yourself. Imagine that you're meeting somebody at the job fair, a recruiter, perhaps a hiring manager. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, can I just take 30 seconds and tell you a little bit about myself? But then you have to look at your professional introduction. How do you introduce yourself? What does that look like? And it's more than just talking about your education. It's more than talking about your title. It's about sharing your passion, a little bit about yourself. For example, maybe you're a developer. Maybe your passion is solving problems, right? The challenging problems. Maybe you love that. Or maybe what you like is technology. You know, you're a lifelong learner. You're always working to learn new technology. You want in your professional introduction to be able to share those kinds of things. This is an area that is very unique to each person. This is an area where coaching would definitely bring value. Being able to introduce yourself in a professional way that's engaging to others, but also sharing information, is something you will use your entire life here in Canada. So think about, how are you going to introduce yourself? The big piece, the resume, right? This is the tool that you're going to use to get the interview. This is the most important tool that you have as a starting point. It's a marketing document. You are selling yourself, okay? It's got consistent messaging. The way that you introduce yourself in your professional introduction that we just talked about should have some similarities to the look and feel of your resume, which should also be similar to your LinkedIn profile, which we will be talking about a little bit later. So this consistent messaging where you are providing a consistent version of yourself tells a story about you. So we want to look at the value of the different styles of resume and working on resumes that make the message that you want to hear. Now, let me tell you something. How long does a recruiter look at your resume, a hiring manager? 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. Maybe a minute. Which tells me that if you have a bunch of stuff in there that's not engaging, that's not attracting them, or is too hard to read, you're not going to take that amazing step to the next interview. So I want to walk through for you a few of the steps of the resume that will be really critical. And I'll start by just talking about a few of the common mistakes that people make and how we can fix them. Because don't forget, you've got 30 seconds to a minute for them to cruise through your resume and see if it's worth reading more or having you in for that interview. So mistake number one, you don't research the job. If you are doing an interview for a specific job at a specific company, you need to research them and modify and target your resume and your cover letter, and we'll talk about that, to match what the job is. If you think about developers, they're looking for collaboration, agile knowledge, continuous learning, these types of things. So what do we mean by researching the job, researching the company? Well, here's an example. Kinaxis is a company here in Ottawa. They do very well. And when we research them, we learn a few different things that will definitely help us in an interview, that will help us in interviewing for the organization and for a particular company. They have a hackathon and tech talks. That means that they like continuous learning. They also seem to like some fun, don't they? Foosball and ping pong. And when we look at their core values, this is right from their webpage. Be adventurous, be real, customer-centered. Now, that means that might be something we want to add to our resume, our experience working with customer-centric activities. They want people that are self-empowered, people that jump in there and do what needs to get done. How can we add that to our resume? When we look at researching the companies and we put that into preparing for the activity, the expo, the job search expo, we need to get a list of those companies, right? And start looking at them, start researching them, find out which ones have an interest to us, find out which ones are similar to where you would like to work, and start understanding what they're looking for by looking at their core values and their mission and their vision. Common mistake number 2, resumes that are difficult to read. And what I mean by that is big, long run-on sentences, right? Information that isn't relevant, just too much information. When we try to pack everything we've ever done into a resume, it simply becomes too difficult to read. So take some things out, especially if you've had a longer career. You know, I've had a really long career and I can still do my resume in 2 pages. And coaching can show you how to do that, working at an individual level. But at a high level, you want to take out all of those big sentences and put it into bullets. You want concise sentences with clear reference. And it's 2 pages. Not 4 pages, not 5 pages, it's 2 pages. You're giving your recruiter or hiring manager just a taste of what you can bring to the table. And because it is only 2 pages, every word matters. You need to really look at each word and ask yourself, what value is that bringing? Am I duplicating information? Am I saying the same thing in multiple places? That's taking up valuable space. So one of the ways I recommend to deal with big, long paragraphs is to read your resume out loud. When we read it in our head, it always sounds perfect. Read your every single sentence in your resume out loud so that you can see, is that a good sentence or is it too much? Next step, unproven list of responsibilities, but not looking at quantifying our impact. For example, if you are, and I'm using the word developer right now, but it could just as easily be project manager, or BA, or anything like that. But we know what developers do, right? They review requirements, they write code, they write automation, they do code reviews, they fix bugs. We know what they do. So if your resume only includes your responsibilities, you're no different from anybody else. What we need to see is some of your accomplishments, some of numbers. Perhaps you improved performance by 7%. Perhaps you had, if you're in the call center, you had a call resolution rate of 93%. What are the values? Maybe you brought a project in on time. Maybe you were doing project management and you resolved a certain number of customer issues. Give us some information. Don't make me try to figure it out. Be very clear on what you bring to the table. Number 4, longer. We talked about this one already. It can't be longer than 2 pages, so adapt it. And when I talk about adapting a resume, I'm also talking about targeting. It simply won't work to have one resume that works for every company and every job you want to apply to. What I do is I get one big list of all of my skills, qualifications, achievements, everything. And each time I go to apply to an opportunity, I pull from that big long list and pick out the ones that are most relevant for this opportunity. So when you're doing that, you need to target your resume to make sure it's going exactly for the opportunity that's listed. Number 5. This is really important. We talked about 30, 45 seconds to read your resume. Obviously, we start at the top. This is where it's really important to understand the Canadian culture. Oftentimes, people put their education right at the top. I have a master's degree in this and a PhD here or a BA or whatever it is. In Canada, education is not the most important thing. In fact, in a resume, it goes at the bottom. So if you're starting off talking about your education, you're already wasting time of my time to read where I could be reading something fascinating about you. This is where I want you to talk about why you do what you do. Let's say you're a project coordinator. You're project management. Maybe you love seeing a project through from beginning to end. Maybe it's working with all those different types of people, from technical people to the customer side. Give me the information about what you do, why you do it, and some really impressive accomplishment that you have. Start off with that. That will grab my attention. You need to talk about your relevant skills and qualifications. Each person, this first part, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more, it's called a summary section. It's very unique. Everybody's is different. And this is an area where if you choose, coaching might be very relevant for you to help you get that first part that people read and make sure that they're pulled in to want to read more. So let's talk about the different styles of resumes and what might be applicable to you. The first is the reverse chronological order resume. I think all of us have seen these. This is where you're listing your work history in reverse chronological order, so the most recent first. It's usually easy to read. It's definitely easy to update because as you change jobs, you just add in the next one right at the top. It's usually bullet forms, and it talks about everything you've done and your responsibilities. It works really well with people who have no big employment gaps and people that are starting out. Now, gaps, let's talk that word right away because people worry about that. How big is a gap and what should they do about it? If you have an employment gap that's a year or less, you don't have to worry about it at all. Okay, nobody is going to ask you questions about that. They assume that if you're moving to Canada, you've got all kinds of things to take care of, and job search does take time. So that is not any kind of a gap. If you have a gap of 2 or 3 years, you might want to speak to that a little bit. You know, I moved to Canada. I was working survival jobs to gain additional skills about the culture of Canada and also continuing my lifelong learning and my job search. But don't worry about those smaller gaps. The challenges with the chronological resume is it doesn't really allow you to talk about your special skills and your achievements. And this is really important. In Canada, we're hiring your skills, not necessarily your education, but we're hiring your skills, both hard and soft skills. And I'll talk to those shortly. The next one is the functional resume. This one is focused on your skills. It's focused on the things that you can do, your strengths, transferable skills. These are skills that you used in one industry and you can just as easily use in another. For example, leadership skills, collaboration skills, teamwork. These are transferable skills. And these would be highlighted. This type of functional resume is really good for new grads because new grads typically don't have a lot of employment history. It's also good for people that are going into a big career change, a significant change, where they're not really having the history of the job in that area, but they do have a lot of skills. The challenge is there is that from a hiring manager's perspective, we don't understand your career story. We don't understand where have you been working? What responsibilities did you hold? So I don't love it on its own, but I'll share with you the next style, which is a style that I personally really like. And this is the combined resume, combined with chronological as well as functional. So it blends these two pieces of the resume together. It does give us your employment history. Where have you been working? How long did you stay there? What responsibilities and achievements did you have? But it also lets you speak to your skills. I'm talking about things like your technical skills. You know, what databases can you work with? What software tools are you strong in? What computer languages do you know? As well as your soft skills. So this allows you to cover both. It leverages your work experience as well as your accomplishment and skills. Okay, so you start off in this type of resume with your skills and accomplishments. And then at the bottom, you go into your responsibilities and the positions that you held. And then finally into your education, certifications, and continued learning. So let's talk about a resume a little bit a lower level and talk about the pieces that are on it and what you might be looking for. So the first thing that I always look at is the naming convention of the file. Often people send resumes that have a file title called resume. The challenge is that if I go looking for your resume, I don't have anything to search on. I've got 10 people that sent me a resume called resume. And so that's not helpful. Your resume should have the same naming convention in it that you are using. So first name, last name, resume, you can have a year on it if you really want to, resume, and put that in there. But let's talk about names. Very often people have multiple names. For example, my name is Mary Catherine. I go by Cathie. So on my resume, I don't have Mary Catherine because anybody who speaks to me, how I want them to refer to me is by Cathie, and I want them to have this consistency of my name. Now, if I wanted to, I could write Mary Catherine and then in brackets put Cathie. That could be done as well. But having a consistent name is really important. Whatever name you decide you're going to go with, make sure that the resume file type is called by that name, your resume is called that name, your LinkedIn profile uses that name. That way it can be certain that I can find you. And even your email address. That one's always tricky if people have a different email address using a different name, okay? I want you to put the city that you live in, not your address. We're never coming to your house, okay? So just put what city you are, your phone number, including the area code, your email address, and that goes back to make sure the email address that you're using makes sense. It's a good idea to create an email address just for your job search. It makes sure that when you go looking for your opportunities, for jobs that may have come your way, you've got everything in one spot. And it also makes sure that the email address that you're using for job search is relevant and appropriate, okay? The next part, the objective statement. This is something that you would use if you were new to the job, new to the field of work. In an objective statement, you're focusing on what you want. I want to work for an environment that's going to allow me to continue improving my role as a project manager or a DBA. You're talking about what you want in a job. That's probably not what you want to go with for yourself if you have some experience and you want to talk about what you're bringing to the table. A summary section, this is the piece. This is that first piece underneath your resume, okay, when you start your resume. And a lot of times people think the summary section is a summary of the resume, and it's not. You don't have room on your 2 pages of resume to be repeating things, okay? Your summary section talks about what do you do? So I am a DBA, I am a project manager, I'm a developer, I'm a tester, all of those different things. And what your passion is, right? I'm a DBA, my passion is finding the story that's in the data and sharing that story so people can make business decisions, right? And what you bring to the table, your benefit, what you're offering, right? As a DBA, I'm offering my strong technical skills, my lifelong learning to continuous improvement, and my passion for performance of networks and databases. That might be what I'm offering. So the summary section is critical. And I'll tell you how important this is. When you look at what we talked about earlier, your professional introduction, how you introduce yourself, that should look very similar to your summary section in your resume. And it will also come up at the beginning of your LinkedIn profile. Imagine if you had a summary section or a professional introduction where you said, Hi, my name is Cathie. I have a BA in project management. I've worked at these 3 different places. It's boring. You can't introduce like that. But what if I said, hello, my name is Cathie. I'm a project manager, and I get really excited about the complexities of the project and the challenges. I'm very strong at working when there's continuous change and flexibility is required to meet to the customer demands. Now that tells me what you have a strength in and why you like being a project manager. And that's what your summary section will talk about. And it'll talk about things like, I've worked on global projects that are year-long, as well as short-term projects that are a particular scope. We want to put some quantifiable information. You know, very often people tell me that that they've been a leader. They've either been a team leader, led people, but they're not giving me enough information. How many people did you lead? How diverse were the people? Were they in different teams or were they all together? Or, you know, what type of opportunities did you bring to the table? Give me the information. So a summary section will really make you stand out, both in terms of your ability to introduce yourself to a recruiter or a hiring manager, but also in your resume. The objective statement, okay? We talked about that. It explains your purpose and why you want the job. It should be concise, relevant skills that you have. But let's talk about this summary section, the piece that I really want you to talk about. We looked at the passion, the why you do what you do, how you saved money, you reduced attrition, you solved certain problems. It's hard to write a good summary section, but once you get it, you will use it everywhere. You will use it also in your professional introduction. So getting this piece of the puzzle solved is a big deal. Most people can write a fairly effective resume, but you need something to grab somebody's attention. I'll tell you something. I once had a developer, and developers, my God, there's millions of them, aren't there? But this guy was different. He loved to fix bugs. Okay? So we wrote his summary section together. We did some brainstorming. He said, I am a developer who has a passion for bug fixing. You might call me bug fixer extraordinaire. I love finding creative solutions to complex problems. You know, and we worked on that. And I tell you, he stood out from every other developer because he had something that he was sharing that I know we want. Every company needs bug fixers, don't they? So this summary section is really something that I consider important. Okay, let's do an example of one. This is just one example, a seasoned project manager. So seasoned, that means somebody's senior, doesn't it? They're a project manager with a passion for communicating between technical teams and user-friendly customers. Right there, that tells me that this person has some technical knowledge. They're able to talk to my developers, to my DBA, to the BAs and things like that. So that's great. Eager to see the project through from inception to completion, with a focus on risk mitigation for many challenges and changes that come. This tells me that the person understands that there's going to be changes and they're going to be flexible and be okay with that. That's important to me for a project manager. Comfortable working on multiple short-term projects to year-long projects. There they've added some quantifying. They can do a whole bunch of short-term, maybe even a couple at the same time, or they can handle something much bigger and get those big Gantt charts going. This is one example of a summary section that really gives me information. What it doesn't tell me is what their education is. That's okay. That's later. That's later in the resume. I'll go look for it. It doesn't tell me all the languages that they can write and all the technical stuff. Again, that's okay. That's later in the resume. All they're doing here is grabbing my attention, so I want to read more. Okay, the resume, okay? You're going to have then 2 different types of skills. Your hard skills, These are the skills that you've learned. Perhaps that they are coding languages, the tools that you've used, databases you're aware of, project management tools that you can do. All of these technical skills that you have, probably things that you've been using every day, the ability to do a code review, the ability to write requirements, all of those kinds of things. Really important skills. But in Canada, an equally important area is soft skills. If you come to just talk about your hard skills, it won't be enough. In Canada, we put about 60% of the value on hard skills, but 40% of the value is on soft skills. If you are the brightest person out there with the highest GPA and the most technical knowledge, but you can't collaborate, you can't work on a team, you can't lead when I need you to, you can't communicate with others and customers, it's not going to be good enough for me. I'd rather have somebody with a little bit less technical skill, because don't forget, I can teach them. If they're smart, I can teach them more technical skills. What I can't teach them is skills like collaboration, the ability to work with others. So in Canada, you must speak to your soft skills, your ability to work with others, your ability to work in a team, to motivate others, if you think about, for those of you that are familiar with Agile, it's all about working as a team. There's no I, right? It's team. So if your resume doesn't speak to your soft skills, you will want to make some changes there. And when you're speaking to the hiring manager or the recruiter at the virtual job fair, you will want to speak about your soft skills as well. Make sure that you add that in there, because you have to be more than just your GPA, your education, and your technical skills. Accomplishments. This is what is a really important piece, right? It's one thing to say all the things that you do in your job, the responsibilities that you have, but I really need to know, what did you accomplish? And it doesn't have to be groundbreaking, right? Maybe you're a tester and you found a bug that is really important, that's been there for quite a while, but you found it and you logged it and you escalated it. Let's look at those kinds of things. Maybe you're a DBA and you were able to finally do some work on the performance of the database, and you were able to solve some problems there, right? There's always accomplishments that you have. You can either create an accomplishment section, or you can add in an accomplishment or two with every role that you had. Okay, so there's some flexibility there. Do what works well for you. If you're struggling to come up with your accomplishments, talk to a friend, brainstorm, get some coaching, and we'll help bring that out of you and talk about how you can best phrase that. Okay, then you're going to have your skills and your competencies, right? These are your hands-on knowledge, right? Things that you've been able to do, your analytical thinking, problem solving, communication, relationship building. That's hugely important here in Canada. We're going to talk about that when we talk about LinkedIn. But when you're talking to somebody like a recruiter, like a hiring manager, what you're trying to do is build a relationship. Not just tell them how great you are, talk to them, right? You will have researched their company. You will have some questions about their organization and how they function. You're building a relationship with somebody. People hire people they like. Smile, build that relationship, talk about that. Okay, then we're going to have, of course, your work history. This is going to be in reverse chronological order. You're going to want the name of the company, the location of the company. And you're probably thinking, I have no Canadian experience. I have a problem. I have no Canadian experience. Well, let me tell you something. If you're going to worry about something, it's not that. We don't care where your experience came from. I don't care where you were a project manager. What I care about is, can you manage the project? Can you work with all the different teams? Can you work on the status update? Can you deliver an effective status report? So do not worry that your experience is outside of Canada. And let me tell you, that's actually something that I would have as your selling point, that you have global knowledge, that you're used to working with teams across the world. Every company is becoming more global. A lot of Canadians that are born in Canada only have Canadian knowledge. For myself, I've been lucky. I've had teams all over the world, and I've gotten that global experience, but perhaps you have that experience. If that was something that you have, that is something I would definitely sell. I would be selling the fact that you are global. You can work with all different cultures, all different teams in different time zones. You understand the challenges of that, and you're able to overcome those challenges. You'll want to include your role and the dates that you worked there. And let's be clear, bullets need to be aligned. The dates need to be right aligned. Everything needs to be crisp and clean. You can't claim that you have attention to detail if things are not lined up, if spacing isn't correct. Make sure that looks fresh, crisp, and clear. You want bulleted points about your responsibilities and accomplishments. Be mindful of your tenses. This is a big deal as well. If you're talking about a role that you had that was in the past, you need to be using the past tense, okay? I worked, I researched, I coded, okay? If you're talking about a position that you have right now, then you can use the present tense. But it's really important to make sure that you have that consistency. Okay. Then we come to education and certifications. In Canada, this section is last. Okay, and I keep telling you, education, we love it, but if I have a person with a university degree developer and a college degree, diploma developer, I would hire either one. What I'm looking for is a person who's bright, who has some knowledge that I'm looking for, and something that is trainable. I can teach people those skills. You want your most recent first. Don't list jobs, education, but as well as jobs that don't have any relevance. If you find yourself that you are working a survival job, you don't need to put that in there if you're working at getting into your field. Listing any certifications that you might have, memberships, awards, again, dates. If you got your PMP, put the date in there for me. Okay, and do not add in your scores. In Canada, we do not provide our GPA and things like that. So if you're putting that in right away, you're showing that you don't know how it works here in Canada. Leave that off. We can always talk to it at another time, but in Canada, we just want to know, did you receive your degree, your diploma, whatever that is? Okay. Where's the proof? This is a really important piece to me. I bet we could raise our hand of how many people have written in their resume that they can work on their own independently or with teamwork. Everybody's written that. And so it means nothing. But what if you said, I'm strong at teamwork because I've worked in a very collaborative environment where each person brings value to the concept and we move forward as a team. Now you've given me information. What if you tell me that you're a hard worker? Yeah, fine, but you can tell me anything. Where's the proof? But what if I said, I work very hard and I have a commitment to meeting deadlines. I will continue to work through weekends or evenings in order to meet my commitments. Okay, now I understand that you're a hard worker. I want you to think about where's the proof. Too often what people provide is a list. Right? A list of things they're good at. I'm a team player, I'm a hard worker, I'm attention to detail, I have all these different things. That's just a list. Everybody else has the same list. I would prefer you shrink your list and give me the proof. Give me an example of those activities. Okay? It's kind of an important piece. Action verbs. Every word in your resume matters. Okay, it's only 2 pages. Every word matters. The action verbs are important that you're using current, recent action verbs. If I think about just one example here, if you're working in an agile environment, you do not want to use the term, I managed the people, right? In agile, that's not how we do it. We work as a team, we collaborate. Let me give some examples. Perhaps you're doing a client-facing role, customer support. In the past, we might have used words like I supported the client, I talked to the client, but now we think about adverbs like I advocated, I consulted, I arbitrated, right? I motivated and facilitated. These are great action words. The words that you use, my expectation is that you look at your resume word by word. Is that the right word? Have I used that word many times already? What could I use instead? If you go ahead and Google 60 action verbs, you'll come up with an amazing list, and then we'll have them categorized for each situation. For example, these are client-facing ones. They also have action verbs for leadership and management and all kinds of different things, and that'll help your resume to be current and relevant, okay? Resume targeting, we talked about this a little bit, but it's about addressing a specific opportunity, right? Making it easy for me to see that you match. If I'm asking for somebody with 5 years of experience and you have close to 5 years, tell me that, right? If I'm asking for somebody with Java knowledge and you have Java knowledge, tell me that, okay? Using those words to play up your strengths and share that you have many of the skills that I'm looking for. You don't have to have all of the skills, all right? When I'm putting out a job description, I'm putting out a wish list of all the things I would love to have. I don't expect you to have all of them. But if you have about 75% of them, you should be talking to me, especially if you can tell me that you're able to learn the other pieces, okay? Maybe it's a language, maybe you don't have Java, but you have Python. You know what? They're all very similar. If you can code in Python, you can spend a weekend and learn Java, okay? So put that in there. Target your resume and target your cover letter, okay? You're going to need to send a cover letter, and you're going to want the cover letter to show a lot of the things that is being asked for in the job opening, okay? When you go to your virtual job fair and you've researched the companies that you're interested in, you've probably looked at some of the opportunities they currently have, and you've probably looked at the responsibilities and requirements. Make sure you're prepared. If it was me, I would have a sheet for every place I was interested in that talked about what are their core values, what kinds of positions do they have, and what are they looking for, and how do I match much of that? Takes a lot of time to do the research. Okay, I want to finish off resume and move into LinkedIn, but I want to finish off with a few final tips. Read your resume out loud, okay? Out loud, every single word. Make sure you can catch some of those errors, right? Have your resume read by at least 3 different people. Asking for specific feedback. If I tell you, can you read my resume and tell me what you think, I'll go back and I'll say, yeah, it looks pretty good. You're not getting any feedback. What if I said, can you read my resume and can you please check for consistency, grammar, and formatting? Okay, now I'm going to focus on that. And maybe the next person, you know what, you have a strength in this particular area. Can you please look at some of the words I've been using and make sure they make sense from a technical perspective? Okay, you're going to get the feedback that you ask for. Know your resume importance, okay? Keep that information about the education at the bottom. Keep that first section, that summary section, bringing the most value. That's the section, if you choose to do some coaching, that I would say, put some focus there. Make sure that that is grabbing attention. I want to talk about random capitalizations. A lot of times people capitalize a word in a sentence, thinking that it's going to bring some highlighting to that word. Okay, it doesn't. It shows instead The person doesn't have a command of how sentence structure works. Okay, so do not capitalize words in the middle of a sentence. If you want to highlight a word, underline it, italics, bold, any of those tools that are meant to do that. You want to show that your English proficiency is there. And remember, when you're reading your documents, your Google Doc and things like that, maybe it's a Word doc and they have the underlining of a word, that's Google telling you there's a problem. Too often I get resumes that have that underlining and nobody has corrected the problem. So you need to make sure that that's turned on, the Google information, and that you check each and every issue that it's speaking of. Perhaps there's a missing word or a tense that's incorrect. And also consistency. In addition to having great content, you want your resume to look good. I want it to be something that looks easy to read. I've only got my 30, 45 seconds to read it. Make sure it's easy for me to read. Clear, consistent bullets that tell the information. Sections identified, technical skills, perhaps soft skills, education, whatever those things are. Identify those sections so it's easy for me to see and find what I'm looking for. Okay, those are just a few final quick tips for you. Fonts, yes. Oftentimes people are copying and pasting and the fonts are off. Make sure they're dead on. You want to show that your resume has attention to detail. Okay. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the importance of the professional introduction, the ability to introduce yourself in an engaging way that speaks to your passion and what you have to offer. We've talked about the resume and how it starts off with that summary section that is very similar. And now we move on to LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn, it's so important, right? Because it's another tool that speaks about you, but it has some differences from your resume. But it lets you connect with other professionals. If I know the name of the person that I'm going to go and interview with, even if it's a virtual interview, I check them out on LinkedIn and I see how long have they been with the company? What's their background? What are they doing? In an interview, I often ask people, did you look at me on LinkedIn? If they didn't, I have to wonder why they didn't take the time. Make sure that you do that and don't look at people as anonymous. Be yourself. Let us know you're looking. LinkedIn lets you do that company research that I talked about that's so important. You can do job search and set up alerts. Be part of the buzz and building a network, right? If I told you earlier that you don't need to worry about your experience not being in Canada. If you want to worry about something, worry about your network, okay? Because that's what's needed. And that's an important thing that you can get some coaching on, how to build your Canadian network and leverage it. It's more than just building it. When you think about LinkedIn connections, you're not just collecting a bunch of connections, right? This isn't Facebook. We don't care if we have 500 or 1,000 connections. We care about getting good connections where we're building a relationship and where we can leverage those connections to help us in our job search. So let's talk about LinkedIn and what should your LinkedIn profile look like. The first thing is the picture, okay? You need it complete, but you need a picture. This is a headshot about chest up. It's a professional look. It is not a picture from when you went to a wedding. It is not a picture of you on vacation. Those things tell me that you don't understand the difference between work and non-work activities. I'll tell you how important this is. I once had a woman who had a picture of herself in her university graduation outfit. She had the gown and the cap, obviously a very proud moment. So I said to her, oh, okay, so you're a new grad. And she said, no, I've been working for 4 years. Well, her picture told me she was a new grad. Everything you do tell us a story. You know what? Just get a camera, somebody's phone, whatever it is, take a picture against a black wall. If you're a gentleman, maybe a shirt with a collar, adding some color is great. But the most important thing you can add to your picture is a smile. Okay? So a good headshot, no shadows, a smile, let us see you. Okay? Then you've got the headline. This is your job title. Remember that guy who likes to fix bugs? Now, every software developer in their headline writes software developer. But this guy wrote software developer, bug fixer extraordinaire. Wow, that catches my attention. This guy is a little bit creative. He's a little bit different. I saw once somebody had project manager, working with teams effectively. Just something out there, a way that you can brand yourself, right? You've got 120 characters. Try and use a few of them, okay? To brand yourself and what you're doing. Next is the background summary, okay? This is that piece that's the same across the board. This is the same as the summary section in your resume. This is the same as the professional introduction, the way that you introduce yourself. There's consistency about who you are, what skills you're selling, and what you're bringing to the table, okay? And so this section, if you've done a great job in your summary section of your resume, that would go there. Really important pieces there. Okay. Next, you're going to add in your experience. This is your experience from your resume, but here's one difference. You have more space here. You're not limited to 2 pages. So if you had more technical information or activities or accomplishments that you wanted to add in, this is a great spot, right? LinkedIn doesn't have a limit. You can be a little bit more wordy. You can give me a little bit more information, okay? So put all of that in there. Your education should go in there, all of your skills. You need at least 3 skills, ideally more. Let's talk about recommendations. This is a great way to bridge the gap between jobs and opportunities that you've had outside of Canada to here inside of Canada. A recommendation can come from anybody you've worked for in the past. And there's a strategy to doing it. You need to go out and ask people for a recommendation. But first of all, most people are lazy. I'm lazy. I want you to write part of it for me. Let's say that we work together. You send me a note. Cathie, remember when we worked together on this particular project, how it was a very intense project with a lot of requirements and we were quite far behind. You remember we worked together with the team and we did a lot of overtime. Do you think you could write a recommendation speaking to my commitment to completing tasks and teamwork? Okay, that's what I'm going to write. And then I'll get somebody to write about my technical skills. And again, I'll give them the information so they don't have to do all the thinking. Okay, so definitely ask for some recommendations from organizations and people that you've worked with in the past. You can also add in your Twitter links, websites, whatever else that you have that's relevant to your job search. So what do? You get the app on your phone. Okay, that's a great thing. Consistently make input, all right? We want people to start seeing your name, your face come up in their feed. The way that you do that is you have to consistently do something. Maybe you like an article. Maybe you add a comment. Maybe you share something. It doesn't have to be anything groundbreaking. Just every couple of days, do something so that you show up in people's feeds. You want people to start seeing you as active in the community. Join some groups. I love Agile. I'm always in all the Agile groups, but maybe you love Python. Join a Python group. Start following some different companies, right? Perhaps you love Shopify. Start following them. Show that you are active in the community that you intend to live, that you're following the technical things that are applicable to your skill set. You need at least 50 connections. It's not as hard as you think. You know, if you think about even just the people at G-TAC that you're meeting, those people would be great connections to add in, right? And it's not just about having a connection, remember. It's about building a relationship. You know, when a recruiter reaches out and wants to connect to me, I say, sure, I'll connect, but here's what I'd like. I'd like 10 minutes of your time. I'd like to talk about my resume and about what opportunities you might have. I want them to start to get to know me. And I might reach out to them again 6 weeks later. Could we do another 10-minute call? I'd like to see how things are going, any recommendations that you might have. What I really want is to build this relationship so that if they're looking for somebody with my skill set, I want to be the first person they think of. If I only hit the connect button with people, but I don't build the relationship, then I'm not going to get nearly as much value. And here's the thing, when you come to Canada, you won't have a very big network. You will need to borrow somebody else's. So what do I mean by that? And this is something I can totally teach you, or you can be taught in coaching. It's really important. Let's say that you and I are connected and you're applying for a job and you see at a company that I know people there, okay? You don't know people there, you haven't worked there. And you might say, Cathie, I see that you know this person there. If it's a strong enough connection, would you mind terribly introducing me to that person so that I can build a connection and relationship with them? You want to get your foot in the door, right? LinkedIn does that for you. It gives you the opportunity to connect with people, to build relationships and leverage those relationships to get in the door. And you might say, well, why is somebody going to help me? Well, because we've all been helped, right? We've all been helped in our job search. We've all been out of work, let go, laid off, whatever you want to call it. And somebody helped us. And I like to think that if I help somebody else, someday they're going to be in a position where they're going to be the person doing the helping. And that's what LinkedIn is for. So start using it and optimize it. One more thing I want to say about LinkedIn. When you make a connection request with somebody, if you do it on your laptop, it comes up and it has a default message, right? Hi, Cathie, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. That's the default message. If somebody sends me that default message, I will not connect with them because it tells me that they didn't take time to build a relationship with me, tell me how I know about them. You know, maybe they say, I've taken one of your sessions before, Cathie. I really enjoyed this particular piece, and I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Okay, I'd love that. It means you took the time to write me a personal message to tell me how I know you. If you're going to connect with people, remember all the time, it's about building relationships. It is not about hitting the connect button. Okay, so put that into your thinking about that. So you want to start building this powerful network, and it doesn't stop when you get a job. Networking never stops. So the idea of having coaching of how do you network? Because oftentimes I'll tell people, you need to go and network. And they think, how do I network? What do I need to do? What are the steps? Okay, that's what coaching will bring you. So make sure that you look at building a network and using that network your whole life, right? Your whole career. Okay. Summary. We talked about the professional introduction. It is important being able to introduce yourself, okay? That is the first thing you're going to do when you meet the recruiter, when you meet the hiring manager. I'll give you one tip. Very often people say their whole name, okay? Nobody remembers that. Start off with just your name. Hi, my name is Cathie. Okay, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it engaging. Let's keep it talking in a way that people can build that relationship. Okay, so you need to work on your professional introduction to be ready for the virtual career fair. Your resume, LinkedIn, those are important pieces. They really are. And you want to have them right. If those don't work, you're not going to get to that interview stage. If you're sending out 10 resumes a week and 4 weeks have gone by and you've not gotten any phone calls, then it's not working. It's time to change your resume and LinkedIn, get some feedback and start working on that. Perhaps get some coaching to get that summary section correct, or make sure your resume is top notch. What I've covered here today is just the beginning. Obviously, in 1 hour, we cannot cover all of these items. Please reach out for some help to make sure that you are able to put your best self forward, right? Make sure that you look at the wording, the layout, the content of everything you put out. One-on-one coaching can help with that. We look forward to helping you with everything that you need to get your best result from this job fair. Okay, Shah, I left some time because I would like to answer some questions.
Okay. Before you answer some questions, I just want to go through something very quickly for all the listener out there. Okay, hold on a second here. Well, one thing I want to ask you is, I heard this many times because you had mentioned this earlier, and this is like the debate for the ages, for the generations. I mean, I heard this, I don't know how many years now, how many decades now, is how many page is right for a resume? You have mentioned 2, right? Some people says, you know what, try and fit everything into 1. I mean,
everything
Yeah.
I'm telling you is different for every organization.
yeah,
There are organizations that will accept your 2.5 page or your 3 page. I guess where I look at it is, if somebody has worked somewhere for a couple of years, I expect more than 1 bullet point of things that they did. I expect 3 or 4 bullet points to at least cover the most important pieces of what they did. So if you give me a 1-page resume, I fear that you're going to be leaving out a lot of details that would be valuable for me to know.
well, you're absolutely correct, because recently I actually interviewed a candidate, and he had 1 page. Then I say, what about this? Oh, I said, what about this? I said, why don't you put it in the resume?
Right.
Oh, I was told that 1 page in North America, it's 1 page. Don't go more than 1 page. Then I go, well, you're lucky I have the time to actually call you to talk to you about it. A lot of recruiters, they look like, what did you say? What is it? 5-10 seconds?
Well, a little bit longer than that, but we need to see information. I don't want you to make me try to figure it out. Tell me what you want me to know in your resume.
Yes. Okay. So, Cathie, just bear with us for a second, for a few minutes. I just want to go through very quickly in terms of the etiquette of our online job fair upcoming. So I want every one of you, I mean, obviously it's free for every one of you to register and to come online and talk to recruiters. A lot of people were asking is, what are some of the challenges to find a job in Canada? And I put in my years of experience, and Cathie, by all means, please jump in if you would like to add more. But my years of experience have told me that some of the biggest challenge that you're facing to find a job in Canada are your lack of local labor market information or job information, your lack of Canadian experience, your lack of network, and you're looking for a new career in a new country that's completely different than the experience that you have gathered in the country where you are right now. Okay, so these are some of the biggest challenge that a lot of people are facing when they are looking for a job here in Canada. And for those of you, most of you probably know already, Canada is the second largest country in terms of land mass in the world. So I mean, literally speaking, in our East Coast, furthest East Coast province, it's closer to Africa than it is to our West Coast in Vancouver. And this is how big geographically Canada is. So yeah, you probably don't have a good idea in terms of all these challenges that you're going to be facing when you're looking for a job here in Canada. That's okay. And that's exactly what G-TAC does, is through our coaching, through our training, we will help you overcome these challenges. And when you also come to VC 11, if you join our webinar, as I mentioned earlier, concurrently while the job fair is going on, there are 2 days of webinars, and there will be a lot of people that are gonna give you a lot of information about job market, networking. There's gonna be a lot of networking opportunity for you to talk to recruiters. So this is definitely, and plus the webinar will give you a lot of labor market information. So in VC 11, obviously, you're going to get to apply to jobs. You're going to learn more about the labor market information across Canada, and you're going to be able to network with employers, okay? Employers all across Canada. There will be companies from coast to coast to coast, okay? As I mentioned earlier, the Electronic Arts, one of the top gaming company in the world, is looking to fill hundreds of job vacancies here in Canada. There are MasterCard, Cancel, Fortinet, IBM, some of the top banks here in Canada, Desjardins Group, one of the largest corporation in Quebec, will be online to talk about their needs in both financial sector and in their IT department. And for those of you who's never done this before, is just go to g-tac-expo.com. Again, it's g-tac-expo.com. And when you click on this site, you will get to this page right here, the landing page. And you just need to click register on the okay. You just need to click register now, and then enter all the required information, including uploading your resume. You can upload your resume to preferred format is either Microsoft Word or in PDF. Okay, and then you can once you're done register, you can also browse the jobs available so that you know exactly. So you have a plan. The jobs will be posted on April the 2nd, or 1st or the 2nd. That's next week. So you get the latest jobs that's going to be available during the 2-day event. Okay. Once you know all the jobs, you will prepare a strategic plan, because there are going to be so many booths, and you want to try to get to those booths as soon as possible. So list your prioritize in terms of which job or which company you want to visit. So have a plan in mind. And then obviously, once you have the plan, for example, if you want to visit IBM's booth, you can click on recruiters availability. So you look at IBM's booth, you look at their recruiters available time, and definitely you prioritize. If they only have a short available time, you want to go there first and talk to the recruiters and establish your network. Okay, so it's quite strategic. It might seem like 2 days is a long time, but trust me, your 2 day will go by so fast. Okay, so and don't forget, when you get to the booth, there's going to be hundreds of people in a booth. So you also need to try to grab the attention of the recruiter. Okay, so go to the booth as soon as you can. And of course, during the 2-day event, as I mentioned earlier, there will be the first day, it's called Discover Canada. And all these are live broadcasts, similar to what we're doing right now, where there will be presenters to talk about various topics that are relevant to you. Look at the entire Discover Canada calendar, and as well as the Career Corner calendar that will be presented on April. The first day is April the 5th. Second day is April the 6th. Okay, there's a whole day of lineup for you to join, and all these are absolutely free for you to register, for you to participate, for you to join. Okay, it's pretty simple. So here's our tips. is everything that you just learned from Cathie. Make sure you have that in advance. Get your LinkedIn profile ready, get your resume ready, and then get going and then search for the job, get to know the people. When you go into IBM's booth, I think the bare minimum is you need to know what does IBM do or what does the company do, right? And then so when you go to the chat room, when you chat with the representative, when you present a very knowledgeable, very intellectually challenging questions, you will impress the recruiters. Okay. So preparation for VCE is given that this is online, much like the webinar that you're watching right now. Actually, I'm not sure if you're actually watching this on your phone, but we would strongly suggest that you use a laptop, a desktop, and with AC power, because unlike the webinar you're attending right now, is when you do go to a booth, when you do talk to a recruiter, they could literally send you a video, online video interview request right away. That means say you need to be prepared right away anytime. So make sure your laptop, you don't want to run out of power, and also you don't want to use a phone or laptop or a tablet. Okay, so that's not going to be a very, very good way to impress people. So use laptop and desktop, and it's plug in. And then obviously check your audio, video, lighting. You don't want to show up in front of, like, for example, look at Cathie, how bright her facial structure is being presented on the screen. Or look at me and imagine if I'm talking to you like this, that doesn't look, that's not very impressive, right? So you have to make sure you leave the recruiter with a good impression. So make sure the lighting, the audio, the video is all up to test them. Dress professionally. Yes, I know 9 a.m. Eastern time could be 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. your time, or 12 p.m. or 8 p.m. So it could be a nighttime. But if you are intend to talk to people and looking for a job, you need to dress professionally. Okay, please, at least the top half. Okay, where you're showing, and then as I mentioned earlier, you need to have a strategy. Which one you want to go first? Which one you want to go second? So follow your strategy. Okay, make sure you have a strategy. Know the company before you go to the booth, before you go to MasterCards, before you go to Electronic Arts, before you go to Desjardins, before you go to IBM booth, before you go to CanCell booth. Make sure you know what they sell. What do they do? Now, when you register, you upload a generic resume. Yes, we know that. But we also know that you also want to submit a customized resume. So if you plan to go to IBM booth, I would suggest, and there are 3 jobs you're looking for, I would suggest that you have all 3 jobs customized resume ready. So it depends on what the recruiter are interviewing for. So right off the bat, you can tell the recruiter, by the way, when I register, I submitted a generic resume. I do have a customized resume for a data analyst, senior data analyst position. Can I send it to you? And you can do that on the platform. You can actually submit your resume to the recruiter on the platform. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So have your customized resume ready. Now, if a recruiter will go through our registration-based database right now as we speak. And if you already register and they're interested in you, they will actually send you an interview request. For example, say Yazzie, I'm a recruiter. Cathie is a recruiter from IBM, and she found your resume. She really liked it. She want to talk to you. She sent you an interview request for 10 a.m. on Tuesday, April the 5th. Remember, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. Show up at the booth on time, so she'll look for you, and then she will invite you into her into the private chat room, and then either do interviews through text, audio, or video. Most likely it's going to be video. So be on time. If you don't show up on time, guess what Cathie's going to do? You're out. She's going to go on to the next candidate. Okay. Am I correct, Cathie? If somebody show up late for the interview?
That's very true. And I would suggest as well that people show up with video on. Make sure your video is on. In Canada, we connect with people by seeing them, by
Yes.
building that relationship. So we can't do that if all we're looking at is a blank screen.
Yeah. And I cannot tell you, I can tell you right now is 60% of recruiters told me, I'm on all the, I did an informal survey with all the recruiters I know. 60% already told me they made up their mind before you even open your mouth. And this is called visual, non-verbal communication. They kind of have an impression of you just by looking at you. Is it fair? Probably not, but it's human nature. Okay. So, and then practice your elevator speech. Obviously, I'm sure when you meet with Cathie, the first thing Cathie is probably ask you, or like any other recruiter, is, so tell me a little bit about yourself. So be prepared with your elevator pitch. Okay. And then prepare your questions ahead of time. Because there's at the end, because anytime when you have an interaction, don't forget, it's not a one-way street. You're not there just to answer questions. You are allowed to ask questions, but ask right questions. Okay. So prepare your questions. And finally, even at the end, if it's not like, you know, Cathie says, you know what, I really like your experience. However, your qualification is not senior enough in terms of the role that I'm looking for. You don't have the required experience. You don't have the system architecture experience that I need for this role. What do? Thank you, Cathie. I really, really appreciate this. And hopefully you can keep me in mind for other roles. Close on a positive, okay? Don't burn your bridge. What not to say. And Cathie, if you don't think this is right, by all means, jump in. Sure. When you see Cathie, the first thing you don't want to say is, hey, Cathie, I need a job. Okay, please. We understand you're looking for a job. I mean, after all, you're coming to a job fair. We know that you're looking for a job. And Cathie is hiring for people to fill the vacancy. So there's no need to tell people, hey, I need a job. Okay. And a lot of people actually put them in a chat box. Look at it. Okay. You know, I'm on camera. I'm looking for a job. Okay. So just please do not say that. I know a lot of you are on express entry pool or just right now looking to find a sponsorship to come to Canada on an open work permit. There's no need to tell people I need sponsorship. Remember, when you do meet with a recruiter, the first thing the thing that recruiter want is, can you do the job? Right? So just go. There's no need to say this at the beginning. If you ask, yes, you answer the question. Okay. And then if Cathie works for IBM and you come and says, oh, by the way, Cathie, what does IBM do? Believe me, nothing could be more negative impact you than you ask this kind of question. Okay, what does the company do? You need to do your research ahead of time. Okay, what jobs do you have? We already posted all the jobs that's online right now. And how much do you pay? Well, they haven't even determined whether if you're good for your right role for the job. So you don't talk about that. I understand some of you might have 10, 20 years of experience in your country. And when you come to Canada, you probably expect the same. That's very, very normal and logical. But often, sometimes you might have to start a little bit of junior role just to get your foot solid, on a firm ground before you move up, in the 2-3 years. So often I tell my clients is sometimes you might have to take a step or two backward in Canada before you move forward. Okay. So this is sometimes, this is the process, So when you do meet Cathie and she's looking for a software developer, you don't say, you know what, software developer is too easy. I'm looking for a senior or principal software developer. That's not the role that she was looking for right now. So there's no need to say that, okay? There's no need to mention your age, personal information, your gender, your marital status, and how many kids you have, your date of birth, your religion. There's absolutely no need to disclose those information. It's not needed in Canada, okay? And don't tell Cathie, if Cathie says, so Shaw, tell me a little bit about yourself. Or Cathie, I'm good at everything. No, not a very nice way to introduce yourself, okay? And then this is the part that there should be some arguments to it. Says, I learn quickly on the job. Oh, I don't have that experience and I can learn quickly on the job. A lot of times recruiters, their mission is to look for someone that can do the job right away. And that's the task that they're given by the hiring manager. So they're not looking to bring someone on and have you learn, takes the next 3 to 6 months to learn that. Like say, if they're looking for Java developer, you have no Java developer experience, and you say, I can learn quickly on the job. That problem, I mean, there's other way to say it. I'm not saying that don't say it, but there's other way to say it, okay? So don't be this direct when you say, I can learn quickly on the job. So all this to say is we do provide one-on-one coaching session. So if you're interested, there's a fee, obviously. But if you're interested in one-on-one coaching session, like Cathie was talking about earlier, with resume writing, with a LinkedIn profile, and this will definitely help you if you plan to find a work, if you're serious about finding work in Canada, and if you want to make the most out of the BCE, or the 11th National Virtual Career Expo that's upcoming on April 5th and 6th, I would strongly suggest you contact Song. That's song.g@g-tac.ca. It's .ca, not .ca. It's .ca. So I'm gonna leave this. Now we're gonna get to the Q&A. So Cathie, there's a quick question that says, how will you really typically answer if you ask somebody, says, tell me a little bit about yourself? How will you typically open up that answer?
Right. So that comes right with your professional introduction, right? So let's just say that I'm a developer. Let's keep it easy. I would say, well, I'm a software developer, and I'm really passionate about new technology. I'm the first person to get involved whenever there's a beta coming out. I love to work as a team. You just tell me about yourself, and then I might give a little bit of background. My most recent opportunities, I've been working on a large team of 20 people, and we've been creating this, new activity or whatever that is. So you're talking about 30 seconds when people talk to you about, tell me a little bit about yourself. You're going to give them about a 30-second of your role, your passion, and some accomplishment. What I'm not telling people is my educational background, all the different technical skills that I have, all the different places that I've worked, irrelevant information. This is just a very introductory part, and this is the part of your professional introduction. It's also the piece that's your resume summary section. So it all kind of goes together.
And you better be consistent. It
Absolutely.
better be consistent. Whatever you're gonna say, better be consistent. What's written on your resume, correct?
Right, it is. I mean, obviously you can tailor it as well to the opportunity that you're going for, and to the company. When you were talking earlier about, not just saying that I want a job and everything, the reason that we do the research in part is because when I hire you, I want to feel that this is the place you wanted to work. Not that I know that you're applying to 20 other places, but I want to feel that you picked me, that you like the product that we deliver, you like the types of things that we do, you like the technology that we're using. I want to feel that you picked my organization because I'm looking to hire somebody who will stay with us.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Cathie. I just wonder, I was looking at a lot of the questions. Sorry that we could not get to a lot of questions on time, but I'm looking through
I
questions.
do just have about 5 minutes left, unfortunately.
Yes, and somebody is, I'm not sure if this is a joke or somebody's just trying to pull a prank on us. They say, Cathie, I need a job. Somebody put that in the chat box. Okay, Cathie, thank you. Now, for those of you that's asked a lot of questions, yes, there are employers that's ready to sponsor you, including Electronic Arts. Okay, there are employers that's ready to sponsor you. Now, don't forget, G-TAC also represent about a dozen companies. Please come to G-TAC booth. We also have many employers that's ready to sponsor you as well. Okay, so either you're outside of Canada or you're inside of Canada, it doesn't matter. We are ready to sponsor you if you fit the job. If you fit the job, okay? So all this to say is, yes, even without valid Canadian work visa, don't worry about it. So long as you have the talent, if you are the talent this company is looking for, they will sponsor you through the open work permit, to come to Canada. So don't worry about it. So it's open to everyone to come to the fair, okay, on April the 5th and 6th. There's another question. Yes, so bear with me. Yes, people think that if this is considered info sessions, yeah, by all means, OMB New Brunswick will do 2 info sessions, one on English on April the 5th, and one in French, une session en français seulement on avril, the 6e avril, okay? So by all means, that's considered, please ask those questions. This session is recorded, and you can review this session in G-TAC's YouTube channel. So you can review this and listen to Cathie's various tips throughout.
Shaw, I have to leave you in a minute, but yeah. I just wanted to give a final word of encouragement to you. And the reality is you don't have to be perfect, okay? What we are looking for is to see who you are, to see a little bit about your personality, to have you talk to us, engage with us, share your skills. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, there is a baseline, right, of having a solid resume, having a great LinkedIn profile, being able to speak about yourself in a positive and engaging way, but build relationships. Okay, don't worry about each specific thing. Just work on building relationships. And if you do talk to somebody, whether it's a recruiter or even for an interview, make sure you follow up, right? Send that LinkedIn connection saying, hey, I met you at the event and it was my pleasure. I always like it when somebody talks about something specific. I really liked it when you told me about this, because it shows you were listening. And I'd love to have another conversation. Let me know when we can have a 10 or 15-minute Zoom call to talk a little bit more about my skills and what you're looking for. So it's really about building those relationships and maintaining those relationships, right? Nothing is made or broken in one quick thing. It's about continuing to build the relationship. So I just really wanted to wish you all well. I hope that you will take advantage of some of the coaching that's being offered to you, because this is something that it's not just for this one event, right? It's going to help you going forward. If you get some assistance with your resume or your introduction or what have you, those are skills that are going to help you continuously throughout this job search and any future job searches. So think about whether that might be beneficial for you. And again, it's my pleasure to share with you just a touch of some of the things that you'll be encountering. And I wish you all the best of fortune.
Thank you, Cathie. Really appreciate your time. And on behalf of everyone listening and on behalf of everyone in G-TAC, again, it's always a pleasure to have you doing this kind of presentation. This is very, 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 very useful information for all the job seekers out
Wonderful.
there. Thank you, Cathie.
Thank you,
Now,
Shaw. I'll leave you
yeah.
with everybody. I know you're continuing.
Okay, thank you, Cathie. Yeah. For those of you that's still listening right now, is I can take one more questions. There's one that talk about LinkedIn. Oh, but by the way, if you are coming to this job fair and there are a lot of companies there, and you're thinking that, okay, I'm going to use one resume and trying to just throw them out, and hopefully one of the company will be interested, and then invite me for interview. So this is what we call the fishnet approach, right? You throw a huge fishnet in the sea, and you're actually looking to catch a dolphin, but when the net comes up there, you hope that there will be a dolphin in there. So yes, fishnet approach might be good, but you're really, really diminishing your odds. So if you listen to Cathie's tip earlier, is sharpen your resume to be more pinpoint approach, then it takes a little bit more time, but your results will be much higher. Okay, and by participating in our online job fair, it does not mean that you're going to get a job offer on that day. No, it's a beginning. So you have to build your relationship, build your network, right? So if you had a good interview with someone during the event, chances are they will invite you for another interview. Okay, so sometimes the actual job offer does not come until maybe 2, 3, or 4 weeks after the job fair. So just keep that in mind. Okay, don't think that you come to this job fair and you're going to get a job offer on that day. Maybe. I'm not saying that will not happen, but I'm just saying don't have that kind of expectation. Okay, if that does happen, good for you. Okay, good for you. So on behalf of everyone on G-TAC and also on Cathie, there's still a lot of questions. So I would suggest that if you still have more questions, by all means. Now there's one question says, I do not have any LinkedIn profiles. Does it affect my chance of getting a job? Well, let me answer you in another way. Is I would say 99% of recruiters here in North America, the default is if they look at the resume that you send and it looks interesting, I would say 99% of the recruiters, the next thing they do is they will go to LinkedIn and look up on your profile. If they don't find your profile, okay, I'm not saying that it's gonna negatively impact on you, but it will, by human nature. Why is this person not on LinkedIn, right? You have to think, you have to put yourself in the recruiter's shoes, okay? Why would this person are not on LinkedIn? So it could trigger a red flag, okay? So just keep that in mind. And a lot of people says, well, you know what? I want to set up a LinkedIn profile, but I don't know what to write. Well, guess what? When I first started with LinkedIn profile, 15 years ago, I set up my LinkedIn profile in 2007, okay? And I still don't know what to write. Obviously, it was new. So what I do is I go through LinkedIn, I do a research, I look at people that's similar to what I'm doing and take notes. And from there, I gather ideas. And from those ideas, I come out with a draft on my LinkedIn profile in 2007. Now, I wish I had kept a copy of that. But if you see a copy of my LinkedIn profile in 2007, compared to my LinkedIn profile in 2022, a lot has changed. So don't worry. Don't think that you want the first time when you establish your LinkedIn profile, you want to have the perfect profile. No, you can continue to change, to improve, to make adjustments. Okay. In fact, I would suggest you do that. Okay. And then also get involved with various groups. If you're a Java developer, there's a Java developer group or software developer group. join those group forum, participate, learn more, and talk to people, and that's how you expand your network. Okay. So so I'm so sorry that we're out of time, because normally we could talk for, I mean, especially me, I give this kind of talk a lot, and anyone that knows me knows that I would love to share a lot of my decades of information with you, but unfortunately we don't have all the time in the world. So on behalf of everyone at G-TAC and Cathie, I would like to thank every one of you for joining us today. We look forward to see you on April the 5th and 6th. Look for me. I will be there, G-TAC Shaw. And if you can find me, or find me in the booth, or look for me in the booth, ask for me in the booth if you want to talk. And we can talk more. Like, for example, hey, Shaw, I'm a senior software developer. I need sponsorship. Which company should I talk to? By all means, go to G-TAC booth, and we'll be able to help you and guide you, and trying to introduce you to some of the people that we know, so that you can fast track with your network and hopefully land a job here in Canada. Okay, this is the whole idea. Is we are here to help you to establish your career here in Canada and your new family here, bring you and your family here in Canada. Okay, thank you all for joining us. I look forward to see you guys next time.